Welcome to the Life in Michigan podcast. Life in Michigan is more than an online magazine. We share the stories, experiences, and vibrant personalities that make the Great Lakes state truly unique. In this podcast, we bring you inspiring, heartwarming, and sometimes unexpected conversations with people who call Michigan home. From the rugged beauty of the Upper Peninsula to the bustling creativity of Kalamazoo, we'll cover the stories and define what it means to live, work, and play in Michigan. Today on Life in Michigan, we are catching up with Terris Ahrens, Executive Director of the Chelsea Area Chamber of Commerce and frontman of the alt-rock band Sometimes Pretty. So pull up a camp chair. We're about to cover everything from small-town vibes to big Michigan love. Terris, how are you doing?
I am doing great.
Awesome, man. So we know you through your, actually, I think first met through your music, but lately we've been seeing you more and more as the Executive Director of the Chelsea Area Chamber of Commerce. So how do you refer to yourself if somebody comes up and says, hey, Terris Ahrens, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Monica Ahrens' husband, because I'm smart enough to know that that is the best classification of me. It depends on who I'm talking to, I guess. You know, I mean, I grew up around here. My dad's side of the family moved to Manchester, Michigan, in the bottom of Washtenaw County in the 1870s. I don't think you can get any more dug in than that.
Yeah.
So it sort of depends on who I'm talking to. Obviously, in a professional capacity, yeah, I'm the director of the chamber here in Chelsea for about 5 years now, and that's become a huge aspect of what I do and the things I care about and how I spend my time. But if I'm talking to, some random person from wherever and they're talking about this, that, or the next thing, I'm just some kid from the sticks in Michigan that likes good drinks, good music, and camping. So.
Awesome. So you mentioned you grew up in Manchester, and since it was the 1870s, you're considered actually from Manchester because
I don't know. I don't know if I've made the cut or not yet, frankly. I'm not quite sure what it takes. Unless your family name is somewhere on the
you've got to have a road, right?
Yeah. I don't have, actually, that's a lie. I do have a road. But I have a couple actually. Yeah. But because my mom's side of the family moved there sometime in the early, 1900s as well. So, but yeah, no, we're dug in like ticks. That's why I married somebody whose family predominantly comes from Minnesota, because, this was all pre 23andMe and that could get scary. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So we were talking to somebody when we were over at the Manchester Brewing. Have you been there yet?
Yeah, I've been there twice. It's so funny. I was just literally talking about this a couple minutes ago. I went there Friday night for dinner with a couple, with my wife Monica and our friends the McKernans, and then I was there first week they were open for lunch, and I'm a huge fan. Very good beer.
Yep.
But and I say that, I'm mostly an IPA guy, but I moved around on their menu quite a bit, and they have those good cream ales and stuff, really tasty. Which, if there's ever been a deceiving name for a beer, it's a cream ale.
Yeah.
It's not creamy, but very good. And then I'm a sucker for good cuisine, man, and those tacos are killing. The picadillo, which I literally made everybody I was there with the other night get, even though they were like, I hate green olives and I don't want raisins in my taco and all that. But that beef mixture and that is just a phenomenal taco. And then I actually did the pescado, which is the grilled fish, but I did it on their rice bean bowl instead of getting it as a taco. So I had the one like picadillo taco and then the pescado bowl. Really excellent stuff. I love that place. I know the Carly and whatnot, who's kind of helping run it these days and stuff from being out in Chelsea Way. And I wish them all the best, man. I know Manchester's a hard nut to crack.
Yeah.
But they really seem to be doing it. Sorry not to get too long-winded on this, but it's one of those things where growing up there, you watch a good business come in and then they do something excellent. But even in Chelsea, even in Ann Arbor, maybe not, maybe Ann Arbor can, but in these smaller communities, the community itself can't support really anything. Like there's just not enough people. So you have to have out-of-towners come in to support these businesses, especially the more eccentric it gets. Now, granted, some beer and tacos, not crazy eccentric, but it's a pretty limited menu, and your residents aren't going to go there every day. So we deal with the same thing here in Chelsea, but what helps is when multiple places get it going, right?
Yeah.
So now, within the last few years, you've got a distillery, you've got a brewery, you've got a new coffee shop, you have some of the best breakfast in the county at the Manchester Diner, you got the new ice cream place opened up, you got the new butcher shop. Like, they are all doing it at the same time. They've passed out some new liquor license, over the last 10 years to Frank's and so on and so on. And that's what it takes. You need to have a wide enough commerce spread that people can be like, oh, where do you want to go tonight? Well, we just had tacos. I guess we're done with Manchester. No, you've got other options, and that's what it takes. And every time I hear someone talk about how the place down the street is competition, I'm like, you really need to rethink that. The place down the street is helping you more than you could possibly imagine. More the merrier. That's how it works. So, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Well, we actually met Carly at the event you had over at
the Chamber Mixer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Robin Hills.
Yeah. That's a cool space too. Really cool space.
It is. I always tell people, I'm like, they talk about, what's unique in Chelsea and this and that. And there's a laundry list, obviously, right? Jiffy and Purple Rose and all that stuff. And I'm like, and then we also have this farm north of town that's 128 acres with ponds and trails and a liquor license that covers the entire ground. Like, not a lot of places can boast that. You can roll in there, grab a bottle of wine and a picnic lunch, head out to the island, and it's quite a spot. I'm a big fan. We got a lot of spots like that around here, though. Revel Run is another one, newer, took over Redmond, and we just had our annual meeting there. Beautiful. Jim and Darlin have done a wonderful job with that space. So, yeah, we're spoiled.
We are for sure. So, so obviously you grew up in Michigan. If your family's been here since the 1870s, So
that makes me sound so pretentious now. I'm just regretting that I said that.
No,
it's awesome.
Chuck teases me about it all the time. He's like, "Oh, there's a street that's named after your family." I'm like, "Shh." Yeah. So what are some of the earliest or most vivid Michigan memories do you have that you can say that's a Michigan thing?
I never really thought about that, what's an early memory that my guess is anything I would say somebody from somewhere else could probably say about their place to an extent, when I think of some of the earliest things I remember running into a cobblestone basement because a tornado was ripping through, if I'm being frank. Or Terris, or whoever you want to say, no matter who I'm being. But there's that. A lot of things from growing up was, occasionally here, in a lot of places, a big concern is teens and mental health for teens and stuff like that. And they're always like, there's nothing for the teens to do. And the first thing that always pops in my head is like, okay, well, what was I doing? Yeah. And then I realized what I was doing was I was in that river. From as early as I could be till the day I left. We spent all our time in the River Raisin. And that truly provided the fishing, the kayak and the swimming, the tubing and all that stuff. So when I think of, what it's like to be and then even in the winter, you're out on the ice, all that stuff. So I think spending a lot of time in the outdoors, I mean, as young as I can remember, it's always been, my parents were pretty good about taking me hiking and things like that. We have a lot of hunting in the family, obviously, but not in my not in my immediate family. It was more just an appreciation of the outdoors. So, I remember my dad hauling us back to the cement factory in Manchester. I don't know if you guys know that story or whatnot, or.
I know I grew up in Manchester.
Sure.
So the cement factory always loomed out there, but it didn't last very long. It opened right what 1900 1910.
I don't know. The story I was told was that back in the early part of the century, the 1900s, some guys came into town and said, hey, we're going to build this big factory. We're going to bring all these jobs into the town. Hey, town, why don't you put some money into it, right? You know, like give us some cash since we're going to bring you all this infrastructure and all this jobs and all this, economy. And to prove it, they literally got some of the money and they built the giant concrete foundations, not the floors, not the ceilings, nothing else, just huge 3 foot, 2 foot wide, 2-story brick walls, concrete walls. And then the city said, oh my gosh, this is going to be unbelievable. It's this huge facility. And they gave them the rest of the money and they hopped on a train and took off. And so out in the woods, just north of Territorial Street, probably technically a little bit outside of the city limits, right on the border there, there's just this huge, crazy cement structure of multiple rooms. And some of them are 2 stories high and big rooms. And it's just completely overgrown. It's just in the middle of the woods. And when we were kids, and I haven't been out there in quite some time, but it was a regular thing. My dad lived pretty close to there, and we'd go out there, and the walls were flat on top, and they truly were thick enough that you just walked around the top of it. But I mean, you got to think of a pretty expansive, it wasn't like, oh, one big room of things. It's a very large, expansive network of rooms and all this stuff. And it's just super fun. Like, I love that stuff. And that's like, I remember him taking us out there, and I think back on it now, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't have been on those walls. Like, you were 30 feet in the air, like just walking around on an old concrete wall. And it's like, yeah, but that was, that's what we did. So it's always just been out in the woods, that's pretty much what we did. That's all there was to do. But I don't think that I was, I don't know what there is that's better than that. So I don't know.
That's awesome. So oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Chuck. You jumped in where I was going to jump in. Go for it.
So I was wondering what brought you to Chelsea, and how did you get involved with the chamber?
Well, I was born in 1985. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. So, no,
were you really born in 1985?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you think I was older or younger, Brenda? I don't know what to take from that gasp.
I graduated in 1984. Like, that is scary.
I think it's just a reflection of our age.
It's a reflection of our age.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm going to be 40 this year, so it comes for us all. But I don't know. Coming to Chelsea is an interesting thing. I mean, I've lived all over Washtenaw County my entire life, and Jack's kind of the whole area. I mean, me and my mom and my brother. I don't know that I could say the exact same statistic for my brother, but I moved 14 times before I was 18 with my mom, all in Washtenaw County. And then since then, I've doubled that number at least, right? So I've lived in Ypsi, Saline, everywhere, all the places, Jackson and all that stuff. So when you turn 14 and you live in Manchester and you want a job, you go to Chelsea because they have jobs. So right off the bat, it was Farmer Jack, then it was Taco Bell, and so on and so on. Then I moved away for a long time, came back, started in real estate. But actually, I'm sorry, that's not even accurate. I started working at Blockbuster when I was 21 here in Chelsea.
Oh, awesome.
And I ran video stores for 10 years and loved it. If I could make a living doing that, that's honestly what I would be doing.
What did you love about it? What did you love about What did you love?
Oh God, it was the best. I'm terrible with names and faces. I truly am. It's not great for my current position. You might think, oh, you're probably pretty good. No, it takes me forever. I have a really rough time with it. But if you tell me 2 actors right now, I'll tell you whether or not they're in a movie together. I am like, I just don't know why my brain just absorbs that stuff like crazy. You're like, Sean Connery, Catherine Zeta-Jones. I'm like, Entrapment, like Ving Rhames was in it too. It doesn't even matter if I saw the movie, if I just saw the case. So I just always took a liking to movies in high school. I grew up on all the action flicks and stuff in the 90s. And then in high school, I randomly started going to the library and bringing home Stanley Kubrick films and whatever else, all the classics. And I was like, oh my God, like movies are art. This is art, and I'm like, they're evoking emotions here, like this is crazy. And then I loved it. I started the store. I came in at a base level at 21. Within a couple of years, I was running the store in Saline, and then it all just went from there. But it's the experience. I mean, frankly, people come into the video store. They don't really come in there too angry unless they've got a $2 late fee that they want to get irrationally pissed off at you about. But other than that, like they come in because they're looking for an escape. And frankly, you know, I mean, you guys remember me back in the day with the long hair and the you know, just full hippie vibe. And just like I loved it because that was a place where I was fully accepted. People had no issue, like, you know, renting their movies from the kid with the natural dreadlocks on the back of his head because he was just, you know, 22 and not taking care of himself. Uh, I loved it. I had so many customers that would literally walk in, and it wasn't about the new releases or anything. It was just like, hey, here's, you know, Memento that you recommended last week from the old section, like what's next? And they wouldn't even ask me for descriptions or anything. They just let me put the next movie in their hand,
Oh,
and
that's
they'd come
cool.
back and we'd talk about it. It was basically like being in a book club all the time, right? Except for
Yeah.
cinema. I mean, I just got to sit there and talk about movies constantly, you know. I mean, that's what Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino and those guys did. They didn't go to film school. They worked in video stores, and then they went and made movies, some of the best.
Yeah.
Um, so I loved it. It was great. It was also, just to throw this out there, it was very interesting when I think about that job versus what I do now. Because when I ran video stores, I did 6 years under Blockbuster, and then I did 4 years working for a guy named John. And he turned the Blockbuster into a movie planet. He owned a couple little stores and some tanning salons and a sprinkler business. Really cool guy, but he didn't make any money on it. He kind of just like kept it going because it wasn't losing money. This, that, and the next thing. What I realized though from that is I had 6 years working under a giant corporation and the pros and cons of that. And then I had 4 years working under just literally as mom and pop as it could possibly get, and the pros and cons of that. And there are pros and cons to both. And I
Yeah.
think it was a really nice kind of segue into understanding what those jobs look like. You know, I mean, there was just this huge thing and all these moving parts, and like, you know,
Yeah.
you're getting merchandising like recommendations from a dude in Colorado that knows nothing about your community or what you're doing, versus this other guy who pops in on Monday and is actually like paying you your paycheck out of his money, you know. So
Yeah.
it really helped me to understand those different facets, which comes in really handy when you're running a chamber of commerce, to understand what it means to be that small business owner, or frankly, somebody like Jiffy and
Right.
what that
Huge.
means to our
Yeah.
community. Yeah, I mean, they're the number one selling box good in the entire world. That
That's
is a
crazy.
Wow.
true statement. And every single aspect of their company is in downtown Chelsea, from distribution to warehouse to production and everything. It's insane. So, you know, it was very helpful those years and all of that business. And I did love it. But I think your question was, how did I end up in Chelsea?
I
uh,
love this little
and
story though,
That's
because it
awesome.
gave me so much insight into you,
yeah,
Terris. Like, and
so
how, like, why you are the executive director for the chamber and why you're so damn good at it. Right? Like,
well,
I just got like my crystal ball just opened up. I'm like, I get it now.
no. Well, and technically, so what the reason is, so then while I was running the video store, I started doing real estate. I worked for Reinhardt for about 6 years, and I was here in the Reinhardt office in Chelsea. And the reason I got involved with the chamber was I was, you know, I was in my late 20s, early 30s. Uh, I didn't go to church. I had no children. I wasn't married. I didn't have a frisbee golf league. I didn't have a way to network, right? And real
Yeah.
estate is all
All
networking.
Yep.
And so it was just literally like I would go to the office. You're not going to find any clients in an office full of other realtors. That doesn't make any sense. And
Right.
so I was like, well, maybe I'll check out this chamber thing. And I started hanging out up here. Then I became an ambassador. Then I became part-time for about a year. And then the executive director position opened up. And here I am over 5 years later. And it's been a wild ride. I mean, I took over on March 1st to 2020. Like,
Wow.
Oh,
that's I literally got the job, and then 2 weeks later the whole
Thing
world
was
shut
shut down. Wow.
down. Yeah. So it was a very odd time to make a major career shift and take something on, but it's all worked out pretty damn well. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm very happy, and our organization is very healthy, and it's a
Yeah.
fun community
It
to
is.
do this kind of work in, you know.
Yeah. I always think of the Chelsea Chamber as sort of the gold standard from the short time that, we've been involved with the Chelsea Chamber. That was like kind of our first experience, which was has been and still is fantastic. And then it just keeps getting better. Well, being involved in seeing other organizations, you then get a taste of like, oh shit, this is really good, right? It's not just like, oh, sort of. It's awesome. You guys are doing a fantastic job there.
Well, blushing doesn't show up on podcasts, but you guys are really lauding a lot on me right now, and I do really appreciate it. I'll tell you what I tell everybody else. We work very hard, and we promise to keep working hard. I mean, that's something I tell my staff all the time is in this kind of job and this type of job, no matter what, you're always going to have people upset with you. It's impossible for them to not be angry with something you did or the way you did it or a decision that was made or things that are completely out of your control. It doesn't matter. You end up being the whipping post. But the one thing that I strive to make sure no one can say is that they're not trying.
Mm-hmm.
They're not working hard enough over there. And it's like no one's ever said that to me, and if they, I hope that never happens because we work really, really hard, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work juggling all the things that we do, and we love it, but it's tough, man. I mean, you've worked with enough bands over the years to know that how difficult it can be. I mean, we book 65 bands a year. We work with over a dozen sculptors every year to bring in like big giant artwork and stuff to the community. And they're all wonderful people, but logistics are not their strong point. So there's a lot to achieve there, and we do work really hard at it. But it's rewarding work. I have, anybody listening to this can already tell, I have just crippling ADD. So having a job that pushes me in a lot of different directions and keeps me on my toes is very good for my well-being.
So there's two topics we can switch to, and I'm gonna let you pick which one we go to next, Terris.
Okay.
It's either the great outdoors or music.
Ooh, do you think we have time to do both? And
we can.
Okay.
I'll keep track of the clock.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, let's go with music since I just kind of mentioned booking a lot of bands and stuff like that. And frankly, that's where our relationship started. I was literally telling someone the story of meeting you guys for the first time. Well, technically I didn't meet you the first time I met you.
Yeah.
But my first encounter with Chuck and Brenda.
So PLI.
Let's go. Yeah, exactly. The beloved, the old Aura. Oh man, so missed. It was hilariously enough, I was talking to somebody, what a great venue that actually was, because acoustically, it was a fantastic place to play music. You had low drop ceilings. You had a nice deep bar with a textured back that had pool tables and stuff, so nothing bounced back in your face. And the bar and all the ordering had like a little division line, and the kitchens, everything off to the left. I know it sounds silly, but I have not played there's a lot of bands that have played a lot more locations than me, but that was fantastic. We loved playing the PLI, and yeah, I mean, first time I ever played a live show was the day you guys showed up and saw Risky Brenda for the first time.
Oh, seriously?
That was the first time I had ever stood in front of a crowd and sang a song. Yeah.
Wow.
And within 5 minutes, some super long bearded, crazy looking mother was standing in front of me, taking pictures, a foot in front of my face. And I was like, I'm so nervous. I don't know what's going on. And then we read this article from you guys and saw the pictures, and it was like the biggest esteem booster for our band ever. I think truly you probably added years to that band's life cycle, because out the gate we were like, oh my God, people like us. And that's all any band really wants. They want the creative outlet, they want the artistic outlet, but if everyone hates what you're doing, it's kind of hard to stay encouraged and stick with it. So it meant a lot. It meant a lot. Everything you guys do means a lot.
Well, that show, like when I think back to that show, like that place was packed that night at PLI, the Pleasant Lake Inn. And it was like Chuck took pictures, and we actually got contacted later for the pictures, because it was like the last time that the last pictures taken inside the was of your band.
Yeah, I mean, we played there quite a few times after that, but I think it was within maybe the next 2 years that it was gone. And let's
Yeah.
face it, having a professional photographer in there was not something that happened regularly. So I would totally
No.
believe that that was probably, even if it was, even if it was almost 2 years prior to burning down, you probably were the last person to go in there and actually take like quality pictures. So I'm
Yeah.
sure, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah.
yeah,
So they're part of a historical record now. So that's
that's so funny.
fun. That's kind of
That's
fun. So what about sometimes pretty? That's a completely, it's like, I feel like it's a different like genre completely. Like,
Yeah, um, so obviously there are two members, myself and Brady. We're in both bands.
Hmm.
Before I was in Risky Brenda with those guys, I was in a band called TA and the Money Shot. Let's just glaze right over that. We don't need to break into that. But that band was actually two of the guys that were in Risky Brenda. And so it's like that's just kind of how it goes, right? There was this
Yeah.
band, and then these two people left, and these two people came in, and then those people left, and the two people that came in the last one came in this one. So yeah, I think sometimes pretty is very much so, the current band we're in, very much so right in line with everybody in that band's taste. So what I mean by that is we all grew up early 90s kids, grunge rock, alt rock, all that thing, and don't get me wrong, I love everything from Chapel Roan to Bob Seger to I don't know, I'm all over the Kendrick Lamar, I'm all over the map, I
Yeah.
love it all. But musically, what we gravitate towards is very much so what you'll hear when you listen to the new band. The reason it seems so much different from Risky Brenda is because Risky Brenda had one specific band member, Nathan Smith, who is still a good buddy of mine, but he is country all day long. He doesn't listen to anything but country music, and he loves it. And he plays guitar and he sings, right?
Right.
So you got this guy that would come into this room with these four other dudes that all listen to nothing but rock. And he's like, "Hey, I wrote this country twang." And we're like, "All right." Like, and then the four of us would kind of overpower that, but it wouldn't leave, right?
Right.
So everything we did had this very kind of accessible, fun, honky tonk sort of vibe to it. So we were a really good bar band. Like
Yeah.
Risky Brenda was that. Now, sometimes pretty for those of us that are in that band, it's what we've all been wanting to do with our musical career from day one. Like it's just we're playing exactly what we're trying to do. We write new music all the time. Everybody that's in there is kind of like, past the learning point. I mean, you never stop learning,
Yeah.
but we're all falling into like, I know what I can do with my voice. There's not a lot more I can go in this direction or that direction. I've spent
Yeah.
15 years figuring it out. And frankly, as a singer, your voice just gets worse all the time anyway. So it's really just about figuring out your wheelhouse, right?
Right.
So, but that said, we're definitely playing more specific music. Like if you don't like rock, like alt rock, grunge rock, you're not gonna like us. And there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
Whereas Risky Brenda was very much so like, oh, are you at the bar and you just want to like hear like a toe tapping kind of good time of thing? Risky Brenda was perfect for that. So to that point, yes, very different bands. Even though you've got two of the three same lead singers and like one of the same guitar players and all, and a lot of that stuff. But we really love doing it, and it's fun. We're switching up what we're doing, where we're playing. Rock and roll has become extremely difficult to. Maybe it's not rock. Maybe it's music in general. I don't really know, but I just know that like the local music venue is in trouble. And the only reason I say that is because it used to be you would go into a place, and I don't mean to pick on the Blind Pig. They're a freaking landmark establishment. I mean,
Yeah.
the history of that place is unbelievable, and the people that work there are great. I don't have any criticisms, but it's not just busy on a Friday night anymore. People don't, and I think maybe this is not really even about a rock club. Maybe this is about music clubs in general. People don't just like, hey, what are we doing tonight? Oh, I don't know. Let's go down to the
Yeah.
music club and see who's
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
It's too easy to get exactly the music you want at home. I mean, back in the
Yep.
day, it was all right, what's on the radio is what you kind of had to listen to, or you had to buy it. You had to buy your vinyls, your CDs and stuff. And to see live music, like you couldn't just pull up YouTube.
Right.
and see your favorite band play at Glastonbury or something. You had to go to venues, and you don't anymore. And I think it's really hurting the entire music venue scene. And what that does is that hurts a band's ability to perform live on a regular basis in a conducive environment. I mean, we go to any of these venues, and the only people that are there are the people that we reached out to and drug out there and like sold tickets to ahead of time.
Right.
And frankly, I don't have a lot of love for promoters at this exact moment. I think a lot of these guys are kind of snakes, if I'm being honest, and I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like burning a bridge, but it's true. I mean,
No, it is true.
They set up these schemes where they're like, okay, so give us 300. All right, so we'll give you tickets and you have to sell them. Yeah. But the first $300 you sell has to come to us to like pay part of the venue and then for our services. And anything you sell past that, you get to keep. So if that's $10 a ticket, you got to sell 30 tickets to even break even. So after we sell 30 tickets, which frankly, for a rock show, for a band that's not famous or anything like that, is kind of tricky. It's a stretch.
Yeah.
And then but even if you do that, you're just breaking even. And then you show up to the show where this promoter has sold you this whole scenario where they're the promoter. They didn't bring anybody. Yeah. There's nobody in that place except the people you sold tickets to. Yeah. So why were they even involved? And that is and I've talked to plenty of other bands, and it's exactly how they're all doing it now. And frankly, it's the only way the venues can afford to do it, because they can't trust that the door sales will be enough to support their staff and them being open. I'm not blaming the venues at all, because I don't know what else they're supposed to do, but they love these promoters because they're like, okay, promoter's going to bring us 5 bands. They're going to charge all 5 bands $300. No matter how many tickets they sell, the band has to pay that in, and we're going to get this cut of it. So we know out the gate that we're okay to be open that night. Yeah. It makes sense, but it's terrible for the bands. Yeah. So to that point, we're just going to start throwing free concerts in public places and leave it at that. Yeah. Sell some merch, maybe. We're actually going to collect some money for the Chelsea Education Foundation to do put it towards the music program or whatever, because we're not making any money playing anywhere else anyways. Right. And I say this is a band that's not popular, but there's a lot of not popular bands that still deserve the opportunity to play live music. So I don't know. Yeah. It's got to balance out somehow.
Well, I think that's what I like about Sounds and Sights is you guys do a really good job of like pulling in bands and paying them, right? Which is huge because, like you said, there's a lot of shady folks, and to the point of like promoters, I think venues used to back in the day have folks that were dedicated to actually promoting the shows that they book, and now these promoters who aren't affiliated with the venues, who are kind of like sidemen, somehow angling in. There are a couple really good venues, like I know the Pyramid Scheme out in Grand Rapids does a really good job.
But, I've seen them. God, who did I see there? Sorry, I just did a real quick plug. King Tough.
Oh,
I saw King Tough play at the Pyramid Scheme. That was amazing. Yeah. One of the best shows I've ever seen. All right, sorry, continue. But that was so fun.
There's a few places like that, or little dive places like the Regal Beagle, that don't, they're not, they're this. Come, book your show, do whatever you want to do. Ziggy's, the same thing.
Right, that's so cool.
But other places, not to slam on the blind pig, but they don't necessarily do that. They don't necessarily have a guy that's dedicated to the music that they're curating and doing that. So it kind of screws it up. But I do like the fact that Chelsea Sounds and Sights isn't just about, let's bring in some tribute bands and some, rehashed music. You're actually there are tribute bands, but there are also bands that do original music, so you get a mix. You get some, young and up and coming, maybe some people that are older that want to do their own original music, and it's all out there.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And frankly, we pay well.
You do. People love it.
I mean, like when you think of the fact that it's 9 straight weeks of bands, and that doesn't include the festival, but just for Sounds and Sights on Thursday nights, because that's the more truly unique thing that we do. Every community has a big festival these days, but multiple stages every week for 9 straight weeks, and we don't negotiate price. we ask them what they want to be paid. There is a very rare occasion where I'll call a band and be like, look, I really want to book you, but I need you to come down, but I mean, that's usually maybe 1 or 2 phone calls a season. That's it. And we do, we try to be very eclectic. That's grown in the post-COVID years. There did not used to be an alt rock stage. There has definitely never been a hip hop artist at Sounds and Sights until the last couple of years. Those are things that I care passionately about because, frankly, like you said, we have all the other guys too, and the other gals. We're not shutting down the Chelsea House Orchestra or the big town band or the 4-string quartets or the groups just playing old classic 70s covers and stuff. That's all still happening. But why isn't there room to have, immortal or imminent destruction? And we booked a band this year that I love that has not been at Sounds and Sights before, and you might know them, called Scissor Now.
Oh my God, they're playing.
Oh
wow.
So the drummer is actually the new owner of Aberdeen Bike here in Chelsea.
Oh, really?
And so him and I got on we're doing a lot of stuff together around recreation and this and that. And he kind of, it's funny. I don't think he knows this kind of behind the scenes thing, but he was like, yeah, now I'd like to get my band in there or whatnot. And of course my brain is like, oh God, I want to work with this guy. I really like this guy, but Gorgeous George, this band could be anything. It could just be the worst band ever. And he's like, I'm in this band Scissor Now. And I'm like, oh my God, I've seen you at the gig and the lo-fi and all these places. I was like, I love it. You guys are so unique. I was like, I got a stage for you and stuff. So, I mean, that's about as eclectic as it gets. You got a 3-piece. The bass player's got the big blade axe, bass, and the lead singer. You got a female singer doing punk rock, and she plays the saxophone. It's so good. And so I mean, that's the thing. People. Chelsea is a very we have a huge senior population here. I mean, it is massive. But that's not all that's going on around here. We got a lot going on, and Sounds and Sights is a perfect example of that. We love having you guys out. I'm always so glad you come out and rep the alt rock stage. It gets a little better every year too. The longer it's there, the more people are going to start to learn. Oh, it's Thursday. We should go out to Chelsea and catch some bands. So
So I'm watching the clock. So I'm gonna switch us off music just a little bit, even though that was really fun. So as we talked about before, you like to camp, you like to be outside, you like to be outdoorsy. So I have a feeling you have some secret go to Michigan camping spots. And are you willing to share just a couple of them?
Yeah. I know I'm sitting here thinking about my friends right now who are like, you keep your mouth shut. But I mean, I'll generalize as much as possible while still giving some useful information. State parks, man, state parks. Our state park program in Michigan is unbelievable. I've done a decent amount of traveling around the country and some other countries and stuff. And the United States in general does a pretty good job with their state park programs. There's a lot of really nice ones in the Pacific Northwest and stuff, but Michigan has got it on lock. The reason that personally I love state parks so much specifically is because of the real estate that they're able to acquire. Obviously, when you're going to a state park, there's a few amenity things that are going to be pretty well taken care of. They've got good structures in place. Your bathroom facilities are going to get cleaned at 10 a.m. every day and so on and so on. But they also end up on the Great Lakes. We live here in Washtenaw County, right? We've got the largest state park in the Lower Peninsula, 10 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. I don't need to go camping to be in the woods. I can do that every day right where I live. That's what's great about Michigan. But the Great Lakes are something different, right? And so the Great Lakes are just scattered with all of these wonderful state parks. Personally, I think Lake Huron is a hidden gem, and I like it to stay that way. And I don't mind. And don't get me wrong, I'll tell people you're missing out by not going there because they still won't. Everybody just is obsessed with Lake Michigan. Do I love Lake Michigan? Of course I do. It's gorgeous. I go there every year as much as I can. But Lake Huron is just loaded with awesome. I'm going to say it's awesome sleeper state parks, including Sleeper State Park. Sleeper State Park is in the Thumb, and it's a sunrise, or it's a sunset sunrise park because it's on the top of the Thumb, so you can watch the sunrise and the sunset from the same beach. It's so great. The Lake Huron ones are just so much more chill, way less people. The people that work there are way more calm. They're not dealing with as many problems and this and that, and I just love it. But yeah, honestly, we have the little book and we check them off. So we're just trying to go to every state park on the map, and that's going to take the rest of our lives. I mean, there's so many. I love it. As far as a couple hidden gems that I'm willing to release, if you're into rustic camping, Negwagon State Park north of Harrisville is.
Where's that at? Explain it via your hand.
Is that the appropriate? I don't know how to. I'm like reversing the image here, but anyways, boom, right there.
All right,
so south of Alpena,
okay,
north of Harrisville.
Yep.
And it's actually part of the Harrisville State Park program, but it's quite a ways up the way. It's not connected to that state park. So the cool thing about that place is that it's rustic camping, but they have 4 specific campsites that have to be pre-reserved. So you do know that when you show up, you have your own campsite, and at each campsite they have a drop toilet and a picnic table and a fire pit ring and a bear box and a bear pole for your trash. So you're really well set up, but it's amazing. There's 4 campsites, and we always book you know, a couple of them that share a cove of Lake Huron. The cove it's a sandy beach in a bay that comes out to 2 rock croppings, so no one can walk to it from anywhere. And we just book it for 2 weeks, and a huge collection of like 20 of us just come up whenever we can, and we just live on Lake Huron. And it's unbelievable. It's amazing. That's a good one. We always say we're watching Moon TV every night. We go out and watch the moon come up over Lake Huron, and great hiking. But you gotta be willing to put everything on your back and hike about 2 miles out into the woods. And that's what makes it great, right? Like, I mean, you don't get that kind of privacy in any other way. You have to be willing to do that. So love Negwagon, love Sleeper State Park. And then Lake Michigan, it's all of them. I mean, whatever, pick your poison. Van Buren's great, great dog beach, really good dunes to climb. I'm going to be going to Wilderness this year for the first time. I've never actually been to Wilderness State Park. So it's supposed to be pretty amazing. I know right now they're dealing with the ice storm damage, but I've got a few nights booked in August. So I'm really excited to check that out. But yeah, and then right up through the UP. I mean, the state parks in the UP are amazing. Porcupine Mountains State Park is fantastic. You're right on Lake Superior. I love it. I love it so much. Yeah.
I love the UP just in general, but yeah, that Porcupine is awesome.
Right there. Marquette, right?
Barrel that's Bean. Right. Barrel and Bean, Marquette. Yeah, those guys are fantastic. So, when you're out at campsite, and maybe right about now, I think, right, is morel season getting ready. So if I'm assuming you've gone out to hunt for some morels. You
got a favorite spot?
Yeah, that's never said.
I'm not that foolish. I may have gave up some campsites, but we're not going to talk morel spots. But I certainly do.
Yeah. So what's your go-to recipe with morels?
Sure. So it starts with figuring out how in the hell to go morel hunting without getting covered in ticks. Because I swear when I was a kid, my mom would be like, just go under that brush over to that dead elm. There's going to be some over there, and you'd army crawl through the woods, and I'd come out and I wouldn't have a tick on me. Now, I don't know. Unfortunately, Michigan has changed for the worse in that part. And the season is the same, right? Tick season, morel season. So it starts with high boots and tucked in socks and lots of sprays and lots of layers and all that good stuff and a whatnot. But all the unfun parts aside, morels are just one of the most amazingly delicious things I've ever had in my life. I'm pretty basic, I think. One, it comes with the whole meal. Is you have to have steak, and you got to get some roadside asparagus, right? So
Oh.
that's the Michigan meal to me.
Yeah,
You
that's a
want
good
to
one.
swap out your meat for some trout or whitefish or whatever. That's great too. Whatever. But I think the red meat goes really well with the mushrooms and asparagus. But morels, you soak them, you chop them in half, and then for me, it's a dredge of flour, salt, pepper, garlic. Fry them in a pan full of butter. That's it. Just and I watch people cook them without dredging them, and I'm like, it's still good. They're delicious, but I
Yeah.
love a good dredging on a morel. I want all that crispy goodness, and yeah, I don't know if there's anything I like more than pan fried morels. Man, they are amazing.
Man, that sounds good. That sounds so good.
All mushrooms are great, but there's just something about a good morel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a false memory because I was a child, but like I remember my Uncle Tim used to have a morel party every spring because he had a
Oh.
spot. You know, some
Yeah.
people have that spot where they're just pulling hundreds out.
Right. Yeah. They're just chasing them around.
He had the ones where you would cut it in half and it was the size of a piece of bread.
Holy shit.
And they would literally like one morel, you know, and you just put it on a sandwich and just eat it like that. It was crazy. So good, but I haven't seen one that big in a minute. So who knows? Maybe I was just little.
No, they exist because we went to the I think it's called the National Morel Festival, but it's up in Boyne City.
Boyne City, yeah.
And
okay.
Yeah, there was a guy giving a talk about, which was really funny, about mushroom hunting and how he won't, even his kids don't know where those spots are. He will not reveal that until he dies. But there was people selling like pounds of morels, and there was a few that were like, almost as big as your head. And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Where do you find
crazy.
these? Yeah.
Yeah. That's fun. There's a restaurant up north of Traverse City up in Sutton's Bay, I believe, called the 42nd Parallel Cafe, something like that. Something very similar to that. It's the breakfast spot that's connected to the candy store. I don't know if you guys have ever been there.
Yeah. I think I know where that is.
They do what they call like a full moon omelet there. Super good. So it's just a big like unfolded omelet, and it's just covered in like Gruyere and morels. And that's one of the only places I've ever been for breakfast where they're like, oh yeah, we're making morel omelets all the time. And I'm just like, oh, it's so good. So awesome. I love that whole peninsula is a blast.
So is it pop or soda?
It's pop. I mean, it's pop. When I hear soda, I just think of Rob Lowe from The Outsiders, right? Soda pop. Yeah. No, definitely pop. Definitely not Coke, which is the weirdest thing to me, right? Where they just call all pop Coke.
Yeah, I'll have a Coke. No, it's a specific type of beverage.
Yeah. I'll have an orange Coke. Yeah, I'll have a Coke Sprite. I'll have a Sprite Coke. I don't know what they're doing. Anyways, yeah.
Right. So how about pasties? Pasties.
Ketchup
or gravy?
First off, I do that every single time, and correct myself. Delicious, right? I mean, to me, take a protein and a bunch of spices and put it inside of any kind of bread pastry, and it's a home run. Every cuisine has it, right? You know, you got your gyoza with the Japanese, you got your pot stickers, you got empanadas. I don't know. It just keeps going. Raviolis, like just put meat and spices and veggies inside of a pastry and cook that sucker up for me. I love a good like pan fried gyoza.
Oh, nice.
That's probably more my jam, where it's like still kind of soft and gooey on top, but like a seared bottom.
Yeah.
A little bit of that hoisin sauce. Yum.
Yeah. So now with your pasty, do you do ketchup or gravy?
Oh, gravy for sure. Ketchup is not my jam. I will eat it with French fries, and pretty much that is it. If you touch my eggs or hash browns or anything else or hot dog,
I'm with you there. Yeah.
I'm gonna lose it. It's just sugar. It's just sugar. If I'm gonna have if I'm gonna have a sugary tomato sauce, it better be cram full of horseradish, and I better be dipping shrimp cocktail in it because that's about the only way that I like it. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, we have one more question after this.
Okay.
But where can people find out more about your work at the chamber, and where can they check out your band?
Sure. So work at the chamber, chelseamish.com. That's Chelsea, MICH.com. We spend quite a bit of time on keeping that up to date and accurate. And there's calendars and list of annual events and links to social media and all that stuff. And, there's a lot on there. Everything from our recreation initiatives like the Chelsea Trail Challenge, to our art initiatives like the Sculpture Walk, to music from Sounds and Sights, and then business stuff and shopping and dining and food and everything else. It's a very comprehensive snapshot of what you can experience in Chelsea. So, yeah. And then as far as my band, which is very much so not on chelseamish.com. Actually, I'm just kidding. I think our upcoming show is. But you can find us sometimespretty.com. Follow us on social media, which we use very rarely because we're old and frankly don't love social media very much. But it is useful for certain things. So we definitely utilize it when we can. And then, we like to play shows. We don't have anything on the schedule at this exact moment, but we are trying out some new avenues for playing some free shows, like I mentioned before, in the Washtenaw County area. We have this wonderful new pavilion here in Chelsea that's also in the social district and could be rented for quite cheaply. So
Nice.
we're probably going to just be doing some free shows there. And you can cruise over to Ugly Dog or Zuzu's or Jets and grab a drink, come by, watch some music. You don't like it? You can leave. No worries. It's fine. It's all free.
Yeah.
So yeah, yep.
Very good.
That's where you can find us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So are you ready for the last? Is there anything else you want to share that we haven't touched on before we ask our very last question?
In the words of Woodsy the Owl, pack it in, pack it out, man. Take care of those things. And I think I even have my Smokey Bear hat on today too. So, that's another one. Just listen to your woodland friends and take care of our resources. In a time where I keep hearing more and more about our federal lands being deregulated and opened up to different things and being unprotected, it's the one thing we can't get back. So not to get all on a soapbox there, but it bugs me. And so, pack it in, pack it out, take care, enjoy, and respect it. So
Nice.
All right, enough of that.
Nice.
So you want to ask the last question, Chuck?
All right. So, Terris, what would be your perfect Michigan day? So, where would you go? What would you do? And what beverages would you finish off your day?
Okay. Well, I'm at a campsite, that's for sure. So, perfect Michigan day. I wake up in the back of my Dodge Caravan with my wonderful wife, Monica, and our tiny, annoying condo dog, Pearl, which only has one advantage, which is that she's small enough to sleep in the front seat. And we'll probably wake up. If we're feeling adventurous, we're cooking breakfast over the fire, or we're being very lazy and we're riding the electric scooter up to the nearest place to grab some breakfast sandwiches to bring back. Because, as I talked to someone about earlier today, no one does breakfast like Michigan. So awesome. Except maybe the South, but we'll just ignore that. And then it's just a matter of like, how much time do I want to spend in the hammock today reading a book? I don't know. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 2 hours. Or maybe we're just headed straight out for a hike. Got to get out in the woods. There is something about food and everything that tastes better when you've gone to some remote location to enjoy it. If you're by yourself, throw in the earbuds, listen to some music while you're doing it. If you're with friends, put the little speaker in the backpack so you can enjoy the woods for a while, then kick it on for some tunes, and then kick it off and kick it on.
Nice.
And if you're camping and you're me, you're undoubtedly next to some version of a body of water. So head on down. Hopefully the wind's not kicking too hard where it's sandblasting your knees. And probably going to have a good Journeyman Distillery whiskey if I'm able to have anything I want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
you can have
and
whatever
if
you
it's
want.
and if it's Journeyman Distillery whiskey, no mixer needed. Maybe just a little ice because it's probably a hot summer day. Put that thing in a good chilled cup, wade out into the water about chest high, and just stare off at the horizon while enjoying a nice drink and hanging out with friends. And then you finish up the day back at the campsite, obviously cooking something over the fire. Our traditional favorite would probably be to take some bratwurst, chop them in half, throw them in the pie irons, cook those suckers in the fire, and then make some brock and mac off to the side in a nice little steel pot. Do a little brock and mac and brat. That's the camping special for us.
Holy
And then, of
cow.
course, my wife will force s'mores on everyone at the campsite. So whether you want it or not, you're getting one. And then hopefully we have enough fun that we're just falling asleep in our camping chairs watching the fire burn down and then eventually crawling off to bed. I mean that's about perfect, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect Michigan day to me. Good food, lots of bonfire smoke, and lots of blue water, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that one is pretty good. That is a pretty perfect day. I have to admit, Kevin McKinney had a pretty good one on his podcast, which hasn't dropped yet, but his
Okay.
was pretty.
All right. Well, I'll have to see if there's some ideas I can steal from him. Yeah.
There you
I
go.
think maybe. I
Yeah.
think maybe.
On
He
the
had-
same page for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty close to yours, but
Yeah.
he had a pretty good one.
I believe it.
Awesome.
I believe it. I'll make sure to check that out.
Yeah. Well, Terris,
right.
thank you so much for being on Life in Michigan. We really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for thinking I'm worth sitting here talking to for an hour. I really appreciate it. It's
It
great.
was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun.
All right. Well, take care, man.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to catch every episode of Life in Michigan. Help us spread the word by rating the show, sharing it with your friends, your neighbors, your family, your mail carrier. Share it with everybody, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay connected by following us on our website and social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, take care and have a fantabulous day in Michigan.